Israel's successful operation in Iran, as well as other actions that we took in this war, have a direct and significant contribution also to Europe's security. The Iranian ballistic missiles that we severely damaged are missiles that can reach Europe. The drones that we hit are sent by Iran to be used in the war in Ukraine. The immediate danger of Iran becoming a nuclear state would have created a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. This would have undermined regional stability. This also would have affected Europe's security. I believe we are your strategic partner in this part of the world. You will not find other that really shares the same values and also the same challenges. Criticism of Israel, which does not take into account the complex reality we live in, does not help to overcome the challenges ahead of us. Israel is a country attacked on many fronts by enemies seeking its elimination, and we were always, even though we always had a sword in one hand, we never abandoned our democratic commitment and tradition. Israel is serious in its will to reach a hostage deal and ceasefire in Gaza. We said yes to Special Envoy Steve Witkoff's proposals, time and again. Unfortunately, until this moment, Hamas hadn't. It is now critical for Europe to back the American initiative for a ceasefire and to shatter Hamas illusions. If a temporary ceasefire is reached, according to Witkoff's proposal, it will be easier also to address the humanitarian situation. There are, of course, significant gaps between the two sides' positions. We refuse to accept Hamas dictates about the conditions to end this war. Hamas wants to end this war while effectively controlling Gaza. This will not enable Israel's security. This will not allow regional stability. Hamas is trying to use the hostages to force this outcome, but we are committed to achieving our objectives. We would prefer to do so through diplomatic means. But if that is not possible, we will have no choice but to use military means. Any country with a huge threat so close to its borders and communities would do so. But as of now, Hamas continues to hold our hostages, 50 of them, and refuses to lay down its arms. We are committed to continuing to facilitate the humanitarian effort under difficult circumstances, as we have done since the beginning of this war. We expect our friends to see how problematic the system is. Hamas takes over the aid and uses it as an economic agent for its war machine. This causes the war to continue endlessly. The important GHF initiative helps address this issue. It helps the civilian population by allocating large amounts of aid directly to the people. This process must be strengthened. At the same time, we are enabling the previous aid method to breach the gap. But it must be understood, Hamas gains from this method. We must strive to help the civilian population without strengthening Hamas. We have also opportunities in front of us. We paid for the new reality in the Middle East with the blood of our soldiers and citizens. Israel is interested in expanding the Abraham Accord circle of peace and normalization. We have an interest in adding countries such as Syria and Lebanon, our neighbors, to the circle of peace and normalization, while safeguarding Israel's essential and security interests. Israel applied its law to the Colan Heights over 40 years ago. In any peace agreement, the Golan will remain part of the state of Israel. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, dear Minister Saar, dear Gideon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your very warm welcome in Israel. I believe I'm the first foreign minister to visit Israel after the ceasefire with Iran, and I told you when I told my European colleagues about my plans to go to Israel, because I planned to go some time ago on Tuesday, so I postponed it on Monday. I talked to my colleagues in the Foreign Affairs Council. I said, I'm planning to go to Israel. Some of them told me, you're brave. And I said, no, it's not me who is brave, but it's the Israeli people that are brave, facing and living in times of existential threats. So this is, and showing, by the way, remarkable resilience. This is why I want to begin my remarks with a simple message. Austria stands firmly by Israel and the Israeli people as a true friend. Our commitment to Israel's security, sovereignty, and the right to exist is unwavering. As a nation, we carry the responsibility of our history. We talked about that, and we do not forget. My visit to Yad Vashem tomorrow will serve as a solemn reminder of that responsibility. Austria's support for Israel is built on more than words. It is based on our shared democratic values and demonstrated by our commitment to protecting Jewish life wherever it is under threat. Our strategic partnership, you talked about it, launched in 2022, reflects the strong and growing relationship between Austria and Israel. And honestly, we are deeply moved that 20,000 descendants of Holocaust survivors have accepted Austrian citizenship in recent years. This is a sign of reconciliation and renewed connection. And it makes the recent rise in anti-Semitic incidents, both in Europe and globally, all the more troubling and unacceptable.
If a property is 300,000, a person could be working at McDonald's and still be able to afford that. You can get into a property with as little as a...
Dialogue and diplomacy are paramount. That's why I'm here today, because true friends do not turn away in difficult times. This is my belief. Ladies and gentlemen, after our press conference, Gideon and I will go to Bat Yam to see firsthand the terrible impact of an Iranian attack on a civilian target. In this context, I want to be very clear. Iran must never be allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon. We have always recognized the threat posed by Iran, from calling for the destruction of Israel to directing its proxies to attack it. My heart goes out to all the innocent civilians who have lost their lives in recent weeks, and I sincerely hope that the bloodshed has finally come to a close, while a historic window for the return to dialogue and diplomacy opens. For us, a credible path forward must be based on respect for international law, credible restrictions on Iran's nuclear program, and effective oversight by the IAEA. To reach such an agreement, Austria is prepared to offer its support in any meaningful way, and of course, we again stand ready to host negotiations once again. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to address the situation in Gaza. The terrorist attack of October 7 was a moment of unspeakable brutality. The cruelty and the scale of the attacks shocked us, shocked the world, and shocked also me personally as a mother of 3 children in a way nobody would have ever imagined that. There can be no justification for such barbarism. Austria stands in full solidarity with Israel. At the same time, I believe that even in this difficult moment, there is a genuine opportunity to move towards peace in Gaza, precisely because the current situation is unsustainable. The humanitarian conditions on the ground are unbearable. They demand urgent changes. Let me be frank. The suffering of civilians is increasingly burdening Israel's relations with Europe. A ceasefire must be agreed upon, yes. Hamas must release all the hostages without preconditions, and humanitarian aid must resume.